One motivational speaker whose name I'm forgetting talked about the sort of sphere of interest or concern versus the sphere of control.
Right.
And he says the more we're interested in things we can't control, our sphere of control shrinks. And vice versa, the more I put my interest into the control and the authority that God's given me, the more that increases. And it seems to me today, how many of us Catholics, if we were to be honest with ourselves, would say, yeah, I probably spend more time listening and reading political news media or even ecclesiastical kind of politics media more than the scriptures. So I love the two things that we've already spoken about today is this getting back to the Word of God and getting back to the importance of what's under our authority, namely our beautiful wife and children. And
yeah, I mean, I think it was Stephen Covey. I'm not sure, but I think the sphere of concern is so vast.
Yeah.
And we feel so helpless in the face of all of these bad things that are happening that we really can't do much about.
And we're forced to be concerned about them.
Right.
When you put images on a screen about wars that are taking place, you have to be concerned. To not be concerned is to not be human. And yet I have no control over this. And so I feel helpless, not to mention what's coming out of the Vatican with the Synod and things like this.
Yeah. I think that cable news networks as well as podcasts and other things want us to be concerned to the point of being consumed because then we become consumers, you know, and they bank on our appetite for more negativity. And, you know, it doesn't take much reflection to realize that's just really stupid. I mean, that is going to drain our energies, you know, so the sphere of concern versus the sphere of influence. And so what can I do? What difference can I make? Okay, you know, gathering my 6 kids, our 21 grandkids, spending time together, singing, you know, eating together, playing games, all of that kind of stuff, and then sending them forth, exhilarated and quite exhausted too. You know, I think that if you could have like a Geiger counter for spiritual reality, you know, it would have been going wild at that point. And so I think of the things that I do in writing books or in teaching at Franciscan University or all of the exciting projects at the St. Paul Center. And don't get me wrong, I think those have lasting value. But I always remind myself that the single greatest accomplishments for me, for Kimberly, are our kids and our grandkids and our prayer. And the idea that 44 years of marriage, we've survived, you know, and the sacrament didn't make it easy. It's what made it possible. And that's another thesis that I recycled in First Society as well as in Right and Just and Catholics in Exile, that if we really do prioritize our married life, as you do with Cami, as I do with Kimberly, you know, you realize, okay, this is not romantic idealism. This is really what Jesus was talking about when he said, if anyone should follow me, he must take up his cross daily. Because, you know, I say this with humor, but I say this with honesty. My cross has a name. My primary cross is Kimberly. And likewise, she has a much heavier cross in me, you know, but apologizing, forgiving, enjoying. I didn't know that a married couple could have this kind of friendship. I never saw it growing up. I saw it in her folks when we first got married, but I thought that's unrealizable. I also had no idea that if you really want to work on a marriage, it is going to at times be the single most frustrating thing, you know, and parenting. Nothing has made me feel inadequate like parenting our 6 kids, especially when 3 of them were teenagers. Nothing made me feel more like a failure. And yet now, and even then, nothing even came close to the fulfillment that we had as family with your kids. When they're going through hard times, you know, when you're praying with them, when they don't want you to pray with them, you know, and all of this stuff. And to me, this is what exiles do. And this is what gets us through. And this is more than jargon or rhetoric. This is like reality therapy. And I think that the book is going to walk us through, you know, life as a pilgrimage. But even if we were, you know, living in 1274, you know, in Paris with St. Bonaventure and St. Thomas teaching down the street at the university, we could sign up for their courses, you know, and in the aftermath of Fourth Lateran and Innocent III, we're back. You know, what we would discover from Aquinas and Bonaventure is that they see themselves in exile.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, do us a favor, leave a comment, let us know what you thought of the video, like, and subscribe.